The following are the entries of a blog that is constantly updated. The blog seems to talk about a show called Appy. February 23rd, 2011. Hello. I will be using you because I am discovering about a show called Appy. Sometime during 1999, after Noggin was launched, Nickelodeon aired a new show on their program, called Appy. It sounds like some nursery rhyme that a babysitter would sing, but it wasn't. It was a short show, 10 minutes, and was normally played in duets, making each episode 20 minutes. Minus commercials. A month after it premiered, it was pulled off the air, and was never aired again, even its nicer episodes. However, some parents did record the show, but they were VHS copies. But of those VHS copies, only some VHS copies survived. However, what was really rare was an intact DVD copy of any episode. I was one of the lucky ones that had a DVD copy. Yesterday, when I did some spring cleaning recently, okay, winter spring cleaning, but who cares, I found some old DVDs with Sharpie on them. They read HA110. I did some research by using Google, and on Roblox. Unfortunately, I found out that those were the initials for Appy. In the replies, they said that there are no DVD copies around, which is false because I have some copies. So I decided to put them into the disk drive, praying for them to work. Well, they did, and they instantly cut to the intro. By the way, I really haven't described the show, haven't I? There is this giant clay apple with hands and feet, being held up by a rusty bent stick. He helped children when they got hurt. But as the show progressed, it just got creepier. Like, death stare and evil smile creepier. However, they did change the stick to a non-rusted, but still bent stick. By the 8th episode, he wasn't even a clay model. He looked like he was CG, but he wasn't. Probably a very good animation? To describe more about the colors of Appy. His eyes were dark blue, his mouth was dark green, and he had a leaf on his head. His intro song had the same tune as Mary Had a Little Lamb. It went something like this. Appy. Appy said 2 times. Appy. He helps kids all day, repeated 3 times. Anyway, enough with that. Let's describe the actual show episodes. Episode 1 and 2 were called Happy's Vacation and Hurt Happy, respectively. Happy's Vacation was exactly what you thought, Happy going on vacation, and helping injured kids at the beach. Hurt Happy was Happy getting hurt, and the kids helping him, by giving him band-aids and fruit, which is weird, because they give him an apple in one part. Nothing seemed out of place when I first saw it, but when I saw it a second time, it looked very odd. While Happy was driving his van in Happy's Vacation, some frames were skipped. I ignored it, saying that it could be a scratched DVD. But when I checked it, it wasn't scratched. Also, I noticed some out-of-place objects in Hurt Happy. In Happy's van, there was what looked like the border of the Hope poster. Also, the radio plays a country music-esque version of Hot and Cold, which was made in 2008 and very out of place for a kids show. I thought those were just coincidence. Well, I was wrong. Episode 3 and 4 were stranger. One moment that could send chills down anyone's spine was the boo-boo scene in episode 4. Happy aids a child that has a bruise on his knee. He looks to the camera, death stare on face, and says, "What does Nate?" I think that was his name. It wasn't Kevin. Need for this boo-boo. For 30 seconds, he stared at the camera, motionless. His dark blue soulless eyes locking on with anyone watching. Finally, he spoke. "That's right. A band-aid?" Why did he need that long to speak? I don't know. The intros were cut out, and the main episodes were missing a few scenes. On episode 3, 512 is when he does his first death stare, evil smile. For 30 seconds. It was somewhat eerie. Also, The OAP objects were getting more noticeable. There was a news broadcast about a tsunami that recently struck Japan. Happy said, "Oh no. If you want to help the Japanese, call this number," and a 1-800 number was listed. February 24th, 2011. I watched episode 5. First off, it had Happy on his new stick. Afterwards, he helped 2 children. The first one he took out of sight behind a bush. Blood is seen from the bush and screams are heard. The other kid waits for Appy, then he's seen emerging from the back of her, then it skips frames. Next thing I see is a blood trail leading to another bush and Appy doing that damn smile. Episode 6 showed Appy doing a death stare, but it was hardly viewable. Then, it went static it for the rest of the show. I couldn't believe it. Episode 6 showed Appy doing a death stare, but it was hardly viewable. Then, it went static it for the rest of the show. I couldn't believe it. I moved on to episode 7-8. This time, the episodes were so violent, so badly made that they couldn't have been aired on Nick. Episode 7 had Appy take a kid into his van. Flesh cutting could be heard, and so could blood splatters on the windows and screams, which turned into gurgles. Then, he emerged, doing a death stare and smile from 9:21 to the end of the show, or 10 o'clock, like I said, 8, had him be a CG-ish monster. But this episode was so coincidental, I couldn't believe Nick would even allow it. It starts out with Appy going around the playground, telling kids about the cycle of life. By cycle of life, I meant frogs and plants. The kids then said thanks, Happy. But then, smoke creeped behind Happy, so Happy and the kids turned around. 2 towers, 9/11 mentioned in 1999, were burning up, with people falling off. There was a lot of screaming, fire, and a crashed airplane. The tail could be seen sticking out of one of the towers. I could hear a faint whining noise, and I think that it was the plane. Then, a piece broke off, hitting and possibly killing someone. When the kid asked Appy, "What are the towers doing?" it cut to a kid that was stuck under a huge metal piece, crying for help. Some other kids tried to help him. He was screaming so loud, it was almost heartbreaking. There was blood everywhere, and the fear on his face was so realistic, I cringed. Appy turned to the camera, and just like the photo in the top right-hand corner, said these 3 words, "That's natural, children." He then dragged them away, leaving the trapped kids screaming. I jumped out of my seat. Was Appy a death bringer of some sort? Or was he a master predictor? I had to continue. Episodes 9-10 were up. Oh, and you want to know what happened when I called the phone number tomorrow? I decided that I would call it. February 25th, 2011. Just a quick thing. I called the phone number mentioned on episode 3. It was a recording, which I will translate for you. Hello. I'm Happy Appy, every kid's most helpful apple. If you want to make a donation, press 1. If you want to know about the earthquake, press 2. Pressing 2 gave me this. An earthquake and tsunami hit Japan, and we need your help. If you can make a donation of 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, or $100, you'll be a big help. Anyone who donates gets a Happy Appy badge. So, I decided to press 1 and donate $1 to the donation. It then said this. Thanks for helping with the aid for the tsunami. Now in the mail, you'll get your Happy Appy badge in a week. February 27th, 2011. Episode 9 was corrupted. It started up but the whole thing had no audio, and the first part was so messed up that it was hardly viewable. The next part was just plain static for the rest of the video. Great, 2 missing episodes, I thought. 10 wasn't. It started with some weird, offbeat carnival music. It started with Happy Appy still looking like what he did in Ep. 8. But this time, as the episode went on, his CG G-ish model looked worse and worse. Like, injury-wise worse. He was in his van, driving against the road, that looped on and on. Eventually, he reached the playground. Many children were at play. Happy looked like he was ready to kill all of them. Then, he said, "Hey kids, who wants to see Happy do a magic trick?" The kids cheered, and ran into his van. He then closed the door, and drove off. After that, he came back, smiling like he just killed them all. I couldn't take it anymore. For some reason, Happy was making me feel nauseous. But I continued. The remainder of the show, before the credits, was him reading the news, with future events that didn't happen for a long time. Examples were the Libyan riots, Chris Benoit's murders and suicide, and the SS Columbia disaster. Meanwhile, there were random breaks, which showed a behind the scenes. Look at him realistically murdering a child. At the credits, Happy was holding a knife, covered with blood. The camera shot down, where there was a table. A hand with cut marks was visible. Then, it cut to a blank screen, with white text. If you get these DVDs, I copied Happy over to them. I wanted to preserve this so that they weren't lost forever. Now you might wonder, how did Nick allow all 10 episodes, or 7? I don't know. They just did, that's what. If you want to know more, see me, KC. KC? Was that my friend, Kevin Kirsto? Well, he did say that he worked with Nick until the end of the millennium, so he probably helped with Happy. I decided to visit his house. When I entered, Kevin wasn't home. His wife was sitting, crying. I asked her what happened to Kevin. She replied with something that shocked me. I don't know what happened, but something or someone kidnapped him last night. I don't know where, but he or she left this. Take it. I then got a folded up piece of paper. I unfolded it, and it was a picture of Happy during the 9/11 scene, with the exception that he looked badly scarred. Before I left, I asked her how those horrifying episodes got on Nick. She replied with he drugged the producers. He was going too, that was enough. I couldn't bear to take it anymore. So I left the house, and drove off. When I got out, I decided to walk toward my house. Then, I heard a gunshot and screams from a woman, probably Kevin's wife. I then glimpsed at the picture again. This time, Appy wasn't in the photo. I instantly ran to my house, because I know whoever killed Kevin was trying to kill me. Before I opened the door, I saw one last glimpse behind me. It was Kevin's mutilated arm, in a bush, and a unknown figure standing behind it. March 3rd, 2011. Hey. I wanted to know if anyone has any Happy videos. If you do, send me the link to one. What happened to my discs, you ask? Well, I found them in pieces, like a claw slashed them in thirds, along with a note saying no more evidence now, huh? March 4th, 2011. I finally got my Happy badge today. It came in a box that had a timestamp from 1999-2000. When I opened it, I got a letter from Happy and the badge. The badge was Happy smiling, but not with the death stare. On the back said Happy Helper badge. I decided to read the letter. To my friend. You have helped us help the Japanese. Of course, let me introduce myself. Unarguably, you have heard of me on Nick Jr. Can't understand? Well, I'll give you the answer. Happy app. He helps kids all day. Now, where do I start with my gifts? Today, I have given you a nice badge, right from the playground. How did we get these, you ask? Running across the playground, I tripped on a rock. I fell. But I noticed the ground was uneven. Undoubtedly, something was there. So I dug the ground up and there were a crate of thousands of these badges. Now, it's time to be off. See me on my next adventure. Love, Happy Appy.